Let's start. Today we are going to cover a very high level overview of Splunk and how Splunk is going to help us in achieving our career pathway in cybersecurity. So I'll quickly go to the agenda. Today I'm going to cover a briefing about the Splunk and fundamentals of cyber, starting with an introduction about myself. Then we will talk about the market share, the USPs of Splunk, that how Splunk is going to help us in our career and also in achieving the client requirements. The fourth point is the most important one, where we will focus on that why we should learn Splunk, how Splunk is going to assist us in providing different requirements and satisfying the client requirements for customized data insights, data lineage in order to achieve compliance with the legal requirements. And also I'll give you a very high level walkthrough of the contents that we are going to cover in this particular course. Then I'll explain about the working mechanism of Splunk, that what is happening at the heart of the Splunk, how Splunk works, and how AI is integrated with Splunk along with the machine learning capability. If time permits, we will do some hands-on the Splunk interface and port scanning with the help of Nmap. This we will be covering in detail in our course. Then I'll quickly discuss about the takeaways that we have from this particular course, both technical as well as the non-technical aspect. There will be some use cases which I'd like to share as a sample use case, that how we can write the queries in Splunk with the help of Splunk processing language, which is SPL. The last session is on the question and answers, where you will be discussing your doubts, and if you have any particular thing to clarify, you can just unmute and ask. So this is the agenda that we are going to cover today. Thanks a lot for joining. So I'd just like to give you a brief introduction about myself. I'm Sankha, CISA and CISM certified cybersecurity professional with around 8 years of experience in different domains of cybersecurity, starting from the network assessment, risk advisory, and SIM administrations, with specification in different SIM solutions like Splunk, IBM QRadar, and so on. Currently, I'm working as a lead advisor in one of the consulting firms in Singapore. I have been associated with corporate training for around 5 years in different domains of cyber, be it in SOC analysis, SIM solution expertise, and also in certificate based training like CISA, CISM, CH. I have also published my research paper in American Institute of Physics Conference and Proceedings on next generation threat hunting framework. So as I discussed already, my expertise lies in the SIM administration and SIM solution, incident management, third-party management, Cyber 360 framework, and cyber strategy analysis. I would like to quickly go to the main content, where we will focus on the Splunk. Now, when we hear about the word Splunk, it comes to our mind what Splunk is about. So let me tell you, Splunk is nothing but a SIM solution, that is security information or incident and event management solution, which helps us to identify the incidents based on the classification of the incidents, whether it's a critical, whether it's a major, whether it's moderate, or it's a minor incident. Not only that, Splunk also gives us the privilege to analyze the data, to get insights from the data, to build dashboards, to build reports, and also to provide the client the customization of the data. It is an AI integrated tool, and here in Splunk we will also learn that how to write the queries, because Splunk is not only a graphical user interface tool or GUI, it also provides a CLI, that is the command line interface. Here we will learn that how to write the queries in Splunk, which is called Splunk processing language. Now SPL query is a very simple English query, where you will learn that there are certain Splunk commands we will learn in that particular course, which will help you to write the queries in Splunk. Now what Splunk is about. Splunk is nothing but a software, or I should say a logical infrastructure, which helps you to bring out insights from the machine data and other forms of big data. Now what is this machine data? Machine data is basically the data that are coming from the different devices. For example, your endpoint devices like laptops, desktop, mobile devices which are onboarded to the enterprise. Or some other forms of big data like the data that are coming from the business users. data from the application tier, from the database tier, from the operating system tier, and what's not. So all this data it can be ingested in Splunk, where we can analyze the data with the help of the Splunk query. We can get insights from the data. We can understand the data lineage, that how the data is flowing across the enterprise. This will not only help us to minimize the occurrence of incidents, but will also help us to achieve compliance in terms of the legal and information security requirements. Now, coming to the next point, Splunk can read different types of data. It can be unstructured, it can be semi structured, it can be structured. So, what is an unstructured data? Any data which is in the form of docx, PPTX, or image format, all these are unstructured data. Semi structured, example XML file, structured markup language. Structured data is basically the data which is in the tabular format, for example, your XLS or Excel file. Now, after reading the data, if the data is not having the structure mentioned, then it can analyze the data. It helps to allow search with the help of the searching mechanism that you will perform with the help of the Splunk queries. You can create reports and you can create dashboards in order to analyze this data. So Splunk offers a visualization platform as well, where you can visualize the business performance, the overall data performance, the data governance, data flow, and also you can understand that if there is any kind of security incident and breaches. In case of any security incident, you can easily identify and check that whether this particular incident is really an incident or it's just a false positive alert. Any doubt, any queries? I'll just take a pause over here. Okay. Now the Splunk features. So what are the features that Splunk offers to its business users? The Splunk features are data ingestion, data indexing, data searching, using creation of alerts, or you can say that you are utilizing those alerts in order to detect the incidents, creation of the dashboards, creation of the data models. So these are the different features that Splunk offers to its users. Now, in this particular course, you will be learning how to install Splunk, how to ingest the data. Data ingestion is very important, and here the data means you can ingest any type of data, be it end users data, be it the three tiers data, that is the application tier, database tier, operating system tier, endpoint devices, laptop, desktop, security devices, firewall logs, IDS IPS logs, that is intrusion detection and intrusion prevention system logs, your antivirus logs, next generation antivirus logs, anti-defacement solution logs, any logs you can ingest in Splunk. And here we will learn in real time that how you will incorporate those logs in Splunk. Coming to the next part, the data searching. So once you ingest the data, you can play with the data. You cannot delete the data, but you can get the insights from the data. You can write the queries in Splunk to understand that what are the different fields in that particular data set, and you can also get overall analysis that how the business is performing, and also you can perform a predictive analysis with those data as well. Here comes the utilization of Splunk as a data analytics tool. Creation of alerts. You can create alerts, you can create dashboards, you can create data models with the help of the data sets that you have. Now I would like to go to the architecture of Splunk. So as I told you, you cannot go and touch Splunk because Splunk is a logical infrastructure. Now in Splunk we have three tiers of dataset, or we should say that there are three components in Splunk through which the data passes. So first is the forwarder, which is basically collecting the logs from the devices. It can be your endpoint device, it can be your security devices, it can be your application database or operating system. So as you can see in the diagram over here, that this forwarder, this is the forwarder component of Splunk, is collecting the logs from desktops, laptops, applications, syslogs, firewalls, etc. Then there is the indexing tier. Okay, in the indexing tier, there are certain indexes of Splunk where the logs are getting stored in the indexes. From the indexing tier, it is going to the search head where the searching mechanism is being performed. Now, this indexing tier is basically storing all the logs. There can be multiple indexes in a Splunk, or there can be single index as well. It depends that how you are going to store the data. Are you going to store the data in a single index, or you are going to store the data in multiple indexes? For example, you have the data set of application tier. So you can put the application tier logs in one of the index, the database style logs in other index, operating system logs in another index, or you can put all these three in one index. So that depends on the architecture, that how you are designing. Then the last component in this particular Splunk architecture is the search head, where you will perform the searching mechanism. Okay, now here you will be writing the searching queries in Splunk, the SQL queries where the searching processing language is there. So all this collaboratively will constitute the architecture of Splunk. Any queries you have? Otherwise, I'll move to the next slide. I hope there is no queries. We'll move to the next slide. Now, before going to that why to learn Splunk and the market share, I'd just like to give you a walkthrough on the content that we are going to cover. So here we will be first learning in the module the basic fundamentals of cybersecurity, which is very important because after this particular course, you may get offers from different companies as a cybersecurity consultant, as a cybersecurity analyst, as a cybersecurity manager. So you can easily go for that as well. So here I will be covering in the module 1 the fundamentals of cybersecurity, the CIA triad, which is talking about the confidentiality, integrity and availability, and how we are going to achieve that. For example, confidentiality is being achieved through encryption, integrity is achieved through hashing, and availability through backup. Here we will learn how to implement hashing, encryption and backups with the help of some practical tools. Then we will learn about the overview of the SOC, what are the common cyber attacks based on the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, and then we will slowly move to the SIM solution, how it works, how AI is integrated with the cyber in order to provide the security and also to get user entity and behavior analysis, defining a framework or defining a venture in this industry 4.0 era. Coming to the next point of module 2, fundamentals of the networking and cybersecurity devices. Here you will be learning the different security devices, how it works, for example, antivirus, next generation antivirus, firewall, WAF, IDS, IPS, anti-defacement solution, whatnot. Here you will be also learning the concepts of cyber hygiene integrated with the Splunk. Let's move to the next one. So in the module 3, we will be learning about the introduction to Splunk and device integration and log ingestion. In module 4, you will learn how to install the Splunk, how to perform certain admin tasks like creation of user, deletion of user, assigning new responsibilities, understanding the components, the indexing, the clustering, all these areas. In module 5, we will be learning the introduction to Splunk basic configuration and Splunk AI integrated architecture. Here you will be learning the introduction to the configuration files, the data management, the troubleshooting, clustering and all in single site and multi-site deployment. From module 6, you will be learning the different commands in Splunk. What is a field? How the fields are being used? What is field extraction? How to extract data? And here you will slowly start learning the introduction to Splunk processing language, which is with the module 7. From module 8, we will be focusing on the transforming commands in Splunk. There are multiple commands in Splunk, as I told you, and also to investigation of various kind of attacks. For example, brute force attack with the help of virus tutorial and abuse IBDB tools. From module 9, you will start learning the case analysis of the Splunk, creation of usage of macros, lookups, data model and pivots, creation of reports and dashboards, etc. Then from module 14, we will slowly move to the investigation and monitoring part, where you will be learning how to investigate a security incident to identify whether that incident is actually an incident or it's a false positive alert. Then in module 15, we will be focusing on the Splunk advanced searches and mechanism, the next generation threat hunting frameworks. And the last module, which is module 17, is specifically focusing on email forensic, which is again another an important part to learn because email forensic is in high demand now. The last module is talking about the interview questions, where you will be learning about the different types of questions that you may face in your interview, this from the SOC profiles and any other information security profiles as well. So this is a very high level overview of the modules that we are going to cover. So in addition to that, I would also like to tell you that in Splunk we will be learning around 100 plus case studies. So out of these 100 case studies, 30 case study is based on analytics part, where we will be learning how to perform analytics in Splunk. The rest 30 is focused on the cyber security, what kind of incidents are happening. So 60 done. Then again 30 case studies will be focused on the generic usage, that how we are going to use Splunk for any analytics part, in any cyber part, in data, in predictive analysis and all this. And the last 10% is based on the miscellaneous usage. So this is how the breakdown is being done in order to give you a overview that how Splunk is not only focusing on SIM solution, but it is also a user and entity behavior analytics tool, which is UEBA. That is why Splunk is called SIM solution and also a UEBA solution. I would just like to take a pause. If you have any doubt, please do let me know.
So this is going to be a hands-on tool-based lab training. So there will be
Yes.
several scenarios that we are going to pull out and try to have a practice on that. What kind of scenarios you will be facing in the real-time world with regards to the threats, as mentioned in the WASP top 10, and we will be practicing on that so that you will be job ready in future.
Yes, correct. So basically, in collaboration with Splunk, we will also be learning some other tools like Virus Total, MX Toolbox, Abuse IBDB. This will help you to understand that how you can integrate Splunk with other security devices, online tools, and how this AI generated tools helps you to get the actual crux of the incidents and to help you understand that how criticality what is the criticality status of that particular incident and how it's going to do an impact to your organization. So coming to the next part, that why to learn Splunk. So as you can see, we have done a detailed analysis on the different SIM solutions that are available in the market. For example, there is Splunk, Sentinel, IBM QRadar, Logarithm, etc. So from Logarithm to Splunk, if you see, there is a huge increase in the demand. Majority of the clients are now focusing on Splunk because Splunk provides GUI and CLI both. Splunk provides data customization, data visualization, and data analytics. Splunk not only a SIM solution, it's a UEBA, user entity and behavior analytics tool as well. So because of all these reasons, customers are more focused on Splunk, and that's why, as you can see, because of this demand in the market share, demand in the customers, there is a huge increase in the job opportunities as well in Splunk. From 2018 to 2024, there is a huge increase in the job opportunities of Splunk. Not only that, even if you are learning Splunk, you can also opt for other careers in cybersecurity, like for example, cybersecurity consultant, cybersecurity strategist, cybersecurity architect, cybersecurity analyst, and so on. Okay, so the opportunity of Splunk is not only restricted to a SIM solution, but it's open to your career in cybersecurity. Now coming to the next point, that what operations are carried out in security operations center. where Splunk is used as a SIM solution. So it can collect the logs. As I told you, Splunk has the capability to collect the logs from a various devices. It can be your network device, it can be your security device, it can be your end user device, or it can be the application database and operating system tier. In this particular course, I'll help you to install Splunk in your machine, and I'll be giving you three different logs, one for application, one for database, and one for operating system. For application, we'll be using Oracle Apps logs, the database also Oracle Database 12c, and for operating system, I'll be providing you Linux operating system logs. So this will also help you to have an understanding that how different logs look like, how to read the logs, how to read an application log, how to read a database log, how to read a Linux server log. Coming to the next point on the log retention. So here, once the logs are stored, you have to follow the retention policy and procedure of the enterprise. Some of the enterprise may have a retention period of 1 year, some may have 3 years. That depends on the company policy and procedure. So then the third point is the log analysis, which is very important, which makes Splunk a unique tool, because here you will learn that how to extract information from the raw logs or from the raw data. Monitoring of the security events. Information which are being received by the log analysis is transferred to the SOC team for monitoring purposes. So with the help of the queries in Splunk, you can easily detect that what kind of incident it is, what kind of security position the organization is having. So this will also help you to understand the security posture of the enterprise. Event correlation. The events from the various sources are correlated and contextualized based on the set of predefined correlation rules. Sixth point is on the incident management, prioritization of the incidents as predefined rules and objectives. Okay, we will be learning about how to prioritize the incidents. Threat identification and reaction. It is a process of determining the threats correctly and a proactive measure obtained through. Last is the reporting. It generates the client detailed security report. Here you will understand that how to build reports with the help of Splunk based on the security incidents and the analysis. If there is no question, I would like to move to the next slide. So here I will talk about the overall logical storage of the Splunk architecture. Now, as I told you, once you ingest the data are getting stored in index. So in the insider part of the index, there are certain storage architectures designed, which is known as buckets in Splunk. Now in Splunk, there are three categories of buckets: hot, warm, and cold. Hot bucket, the data which is less than 24 hours are under hot bucket. The data which is more than 24 hours will go to warm bucket. The data which is more than 48 hours will go to cold bucket. So this is the way the sequence of the buckets are being arranged. Now each bucket has its own raw data, metadata, and the index files. Metadata basically track the source type, and the host. Source means from where the logs are coming. Source type is what kind of log it is, whether it's an application, security device, what it is. Host, whose logs it is. For example, in an enterprise, there can be multiple production servers. So this host will give us that privilege to understand that what log it is, which production server log it is. We can track the host with the help of the host name or with the server IPs. Admin, if you have the Splunk admin access, you can do more. You can add more buckets as well in your Splunk infrastructure. Now here, this particular slide talks about the working mechanism of Splunk. How does Splunk works in real-time environment? So before I go into this, I'd like to tell you that Splunk is based on machine learning engine mechanism. So here, the Splunk, at the heart of the Splunk, this architecture is there, which helps the Splunk to analyze the data. So there is a TLS session tracker, which is called transport layer security. So this TLS session tracker has the traffic passing through it, which is a bidirectional traffic. Now this traffic passes to the TLS session tracker and it goes through event normalizer to the machine learning engine. It transforms the data into vectors. So this is the utility of event normalizer. Why it is important? Event normalizer is very important because machine learning engine cannot read data. They read vectors. So this event normalizer transforms this data into vectors which is then fed with the machine learning engine. Now this machine learning engine analyze the behavior of those vectors. Vector behavior analysis is the main functionality or the mechanism which they perform. So once they analyze the behavior of the vector, then they can understand that whether it's a good data or it's a bad data. If it's a good data, so how they will understand if it's a good or bad? They basically checks the behavior which is already stored in the database. They have a database in place. So this behavior they check whether it's a good or bad. If the behavior matches with the good behavior that is stored in the database, then it is considered as a good vector or it will be considered as a good data. If it checks with a bad behavior, then it will be given to the IT security expert. Okay, now what IT security expert will do? IT security expert will basically check that whether that bad data is really a bad data or not. If it is not a bad data, then it will be stored in the database as a good vector, and from the next time they will not do any kind of alert for this similar kind of data because it's a false positive. So this how the overall Splunk works. Any doubt, or should I move to the next slide? Okay, I'm moving to the next slide. Now here the most important question, that why I should learn Splunk. So Splunk not only helps you to implement and manage security tools, but it also helps you to monitor the security access, the security issues. It helps you to respond to the threats. It helps you to investigate the suspicious activities, contain them, quarantine them, and prevent them from recurrence, that is, reoccurrence of the same incidents. Now, going to the next part, that is providing security service to the rest of the organization. This is also is very important because the security services, it helps you to understand the overall security posture in Splunk, how the organization is performing, how the overall functionalities are aligned with the security requirements of the organization. Then the last part is the audit and compliance support, which is also equally important. Now here I would like to mention that how Splunk is going to help you to achieve compliance with the audit and compliance requirements. Okay, so I would just like to mention that from the compliance requirement, for example, most of the organizations in India as well as outside India are ISO compliant. In ISO 27001 2022 framework, there is a requirement which specifically states the importance of having a SIM solution in place. So, in order to be in compliant with the ISO, you have to have a SIM solution in your organization. And most of the vendors or most of the clients, they are opting for Splunk to have a SIM solution in place as a SIM solution in place to be in compliant with this particular requirement. So Splunk is not only helping you to minimize your downtime, to minimize the criticality, the overall impact of the incidents, to prevent recurrence of the incidents, but also helps to achieve compliance. Splunk also helps you to understand the security posture of the organization, to understand the business performance, to help you to get the predictive analysis of the business users data that you are dealing with in your day-to-day operations. Now, from the technical and non-technical aspect, I would just like to focus on the logistic part first, that is the course structure. So total duration is of 30 hours. Out of this 30 hours, it is split in two areas. 26 hours of lecture will be there, and this lecture will constitute 20 hours of practical and 6 hours of theory. So we can conclude that majority of the sessions will be on practical scenarios. You will be doing hands-on in Splunk and different other tools to understand the security aspects. Then the 6 hours of theory is important because this will help you to clear your interviews. Unfortunately, in interview, no one will ask to do any practical demo. You will be asked different case studies, different scenarios, which you have to answer. So this theory is important in order to ace with the interview questionnaires. Now, the rest 4 hours, I have split it in two parts. 2 hours of assignment will be given to you. This assignment will be based on real time case study scenarios, and 2 hours of exam will be there. One will be there after a week of the start of the course to understand how you are adapting to the course, and one will be there at the end of the course. This particular exam, which is conducted at the end of the course, will be based on the interview questions and some certain certificate exam questions which we will be covering in the course. Real time interview questions and answers will also be shared as a part of the course curriculum. Now coming to the takeaways, so you'll be learning Splunk integration in different instances, different functionalities of Splunk like creation of dashboards, alerts, reports, events, macros, lookups, etc. Data model creation, data model validation, etc. You will be learning how you can investigate different security incidents in Splunk and digging down the actual root cause through several logs captured in endpoint detection response and endpoint protection platform, which are nothing but your antivirus and next generation antivirus. The access logs, the firewall logs, the server logs, etc. You will be learning the threat intelligence, security events analysis through Splunk, creation of the lookups, network and risk analysis, web intelligence, and also the glimpse of next generation threat hunting framework, which nowadays the security companies are opting for. Design and validation of the workflows mechanisms with the help of the Splunk. So these are the main areas that you will be learning from the technical aspect. You will be also learning certain additional tools as a part of the integration of Splunk with the next generation AI security. The tools which we will be learning are MX Toolbox, Virus Total, Abuse IBDB, and Nmap. If I talk about the non-technical aspects, you will be learning streamlining the communication process with the client and the stakeholders. Stakeholders, I mean both internal stakeholders and external stakeholders as well. Business aspects of the SIM solution to pitch in for clients. While you will be working as a cyber delivery manager or as a SOC manager, you have to bring more clients as well. Okay, this will be one of your deliverables. So here you will be learning the business aspects that how you can assist in acquiring more clients if you are working in any service-based organizations. You will be learning how to lead a SOC team, presenting the security scorecard to demonstrate the overall security posture of the organization to the senior management. So these are the key highlights of this particular course and how you can utilize this course to ace your career and to crack interviews in SOC and other cyber profiles. If you have any questions, I'll just take a pause over here in this particular slide. If you have any questions, you can just ask. Otherwise, I'll move to the next one. Okay, I hope there is no question. Then I'll quickly move to the next one. Use case. So here is the most important slide, which is talking about the different one of the use case that is frequently used in Splunk. So this use case is asking about how you can detect the country-wise count of the malicious connections. Now, what is a malicious connection? Any connection which is not authorized and authenticated in the network or not connected through your remote connections is considered as a malicious one. So this is a very frequent requirement in the financial institutions as well as non-financial institutions to understand that is there any malicious connections happening. If yes, then from which country? Because most of the financial institutes are being attacked or targeted by different countries. So first we need to know the location or the country or the city from where these connections are coming from. How we will do that in Splunk? In Splunk, it's very easy with the help of the Splunk processing language, which is SPL. So how we are framing the query for that? So first we wrote index equals to ES underscore malware. Now ES stands for enterprise security. ES malware is that particular index where our anti-malware logs, that means the antivirus logs, are getting stored. Source type equals to Symantec. Symantec is the vendor of that particular anti-malware solution that the organization is using. If the organization is using some other product, then we have to mention that source type. For example, CrowdStrike Falcon, for example, McAfee, etc. So index is the field name and ES underscore malware is the field value. Source type is the field name, Symantec is the field value. So here we are basically applying filters, that is field name equals to field value, field name equals to field value. Again we put field name equals to field value, severity field name equals to field value. So here we just wrote all the filtering conditions first. What are these? We need to check which index we will hit, where we will check in order to detect this, and the subsequent actions. Then there is a bar which is called a pipe. This is called a pipe in Splunk. Then stats count by remote host IP. Okay, remote host IP is basically a field which will give you the overall collections of the IPs which are trying to enter in your enterprise. Stats count is basically the Splunk command which will give you a statistical overview of a particular field. So stats count by remote host IP will give you the statistical count of those IPs which are trying to enter your network and those are being blocked. Then again put pipe. IP location, again it's a Splunk command, remote host IP. So the syntax is IP location space the field name. Here the field name is remote host IP. Now why we are using pipes multiple times? Because pipes is considered as a breaker and this will give me the privilege to understand that multiple commands are being executed and this helps you to execute the commands in a particular sequence. For example, stats count will be executed first, then IP location, then the rest part. So this helps in maintaining the sequence of the commands as well. Then we again put a pipe. Geostats, which is the geographical statistics, count by country, lat field equals to lat, long field equals to long. So this will give you the latitude and longitude. So geostats, that is your geographical statistics, count by country, lat field equals to lat, long field equals to long. This will give me the latitude and the longitude. So now once you write the query, then you will get the privilege to visualize the data. So in my left hand graph you can see the spikes which basically shows that there is the highest level of malicious connections are coming, and in the x-axis you can see the timestamp is there. Timestamp means we will get the idea that in which time the connections are higher. Maybe at night, maybe during off business hours they are trying to hit the network. So this timestamp will help us to understand that when the count of malicious connections were higher. In my right hand graph, as you can see, it is giving me the overall analysis of the countries, that in which country it is located. It's in UK, it's in US, it's in Europe, and also it gives me the specific latitude and longitude. This helps me to understand which are my enemies and from where specifically the malicious connections are trying to come to our enterprise in which timestamp. So this will give me a detailed analysis of the malicious connections that are coming from different countries. Again, I like to repeat. So here the main part is that how we are using the Splunk commands. Stats count is a Splunk command that we have used over here. IP location, again, it's a Splunk command that we used over here. Geostats count, it's quite similar as stats count. We just added geostats. Now what that means? Geostat is basically giving me the overall geographical statistics. Geostats is basically giving me the latitude and longitude of that particular location that we are trying to check through. Okay. Any doubt from this particular query? Okay. So if there is no doubt, then I'd like to move to the next part. So here the slide is basically from your perspective to discuss. If you have any questions, you can just put it over here in the chat box, or if right now you don't have any questions in mind, I'd like to request you, please reach out to us. This is our WhatsApp number. I'll put it in the chat box as well. Just connect with us. You are free to call us or drop a WhatsApp text. We are available 24/7. If you have any queries regarding your expectations from this particular course, or how you can start ahead your career in cyber security, please also feel free to reach out to us. We are always there to help you out. That's all from my side. If you have any queries, just put it on the chat box or reach out to us. Thanks a lot. Thanks for joining. I am looking forward to onboard you all